everyone. Welcome to Nerdblood Podcast, episode 271. First take.
First take, yes.
I'm George.
I'm Mac. I'm Mac.
I'm the Mac Daddy.
Of the Hornets today.
Nerdblood Podcast, pop culture on the internet. It's pop culture is the name of the game, and we lost the rulebook or something. I don't remember what we said last week, but it was quite good. We have just watched like 4 or 5 trailers of stuff.
More like 7.
7,000
7,000 seconds.
All in varying range in terms of film quality.
We did quite a genre trip. It was, and it didn't end with the mind fuck of a film, but we had that mind trip halfway through in Dream Scenario. I want to say Dream Horse, Dream House. So that's an unbelievable movie. 2
of them coming out this year. 2 of them coming out next year.
Yeah. One of them we weren't sure of. The Western. I don't think. Well, 3 of them come. Yeah, because we watched 5, didn't we? So, let's go with the 2 Nicolas Cage ones first. Where it's bald. Eliminate them. Yes.
Dream Scenario looks great.
It's A24, Nicolas Cage. I wanted this collaboration, and I wasn't aware of this collaboration until today. So, yeah, I'm definitely keeping it on my radar.
Like we were saying, Nicolas Cage is probably in a severe amount of debt. Because the man just makes anything.
Anything and everything.
But he makes shit stuff, but it's still enjoyable. I love a Nicolas Cage film.
There is a modern...
Con Air is cinema. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a fun time. National Treasure is okay.
Okay.
Ghost Rider... Spirit of Vengeance is a lot better, but Ghost Rider's still okay.
It's fine, yeah. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is more than fine. I really like that movie. It's
so underappreciated, but I really want to see Dream Scenario, where you said it's like Nick Cage is an ordinary teacher, Freddy Krueger style man, appearing in everyone's dreams.
It's like a meta parody of Robert Englund's life and how he took on the role of Freddy Krueger. It's got nothing to do with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, just sort of clear, but yeah, right.
So scary. You're going to give me that.
I'll give you my beekeeper. Oh.
The bees.
That's why it's the bees.
Maybe. But yeah, that's so he's a normal guy that appears in everyone's dreams. Yes, sign me
up. Somehow.
The Western one, it's probably the out of the 5.
Butcher's Crossing or something.
Yeah, Butcher's Crossing. I'm the least excited. It looks like Revenant crossed with
Red Dead Redemption. /
The Northman vibes.
Yeah.
And it's murder and dark.
Cowboyified.
A bit like Us, because it's very sort of like this is just dark and it's gonna probably terrify you or just make you go, oh well, life's pretty shitty.
Definitely not on Disney Plus. Not a family friendly film by any means.
But want to see it still. All these films want to see. But I think the Dream one is the more looked forward to Nicolas Cage one. Both definitely supposedly coming out this year. So we'll see on that. Another film coming out this year. Should we leave the Elvis chat till the end?
Fine.
Let's do the Beekeeper to link the Nicolas Cage to the bees.
Not the bees. Oh, more like not the bees. I'm more a fan of Hornets myself.
We've seen Jason Statham tackle sharks and Sylvester Stallone's agents, and now he's taking on bees. But Beekeeper. So the Beekeeper is a special secret service run by Jeremy Irons, and they've got all these bee analogies. Analogies.
Oh my lord, analogies.
Get that on a jumper.
Get that hashtag trending worldwide.
Sweeter than honey. Oh.
Viral.
Yeah.
Analogies.
Yeah, we're going to pollinate the whole world with our blood. I don't know. So there's I'll protect the hive, and it's a secret service, and we're buzzing. I don't know.
we're buzzing.
We're taking on the evil pesticide corporations.
Yes, sorry.
But that looks like a lot of fun. It looks like the Meg,
but
/ like the Gentleman, Kingsman-y vibes in terms of it's going to be probably feel a bit real, but it's also like it is just
over the top stupid bollocks.
A man gets his fingers cut off in one move and then attached by bungee to a car that's driven off a bridge and gets dragged with him. And we don't know whether it's Grant Gustin or not.
No, I'm like 70% sure it's not him.
It looks like it could be Grant Gustin.
He looks more like the new Elvis, which again we'll allude to later. But yes,
you've been renewed. Regenerated.
Yeah, well, he's definitely been regenerated. But we'll name
and my dear. On it seems not a moment too soon.
Oh, nice. We'll name and shame him later.
And then what was the other one? It was Argyle.
Argyle, yes, with Henry Cavill and that hairline and his hair slicked up. Duke Nukem, but not
Dua
sexist.
Lipa, John Cena.
John Cena.
These are all trailers that I was like, because I'd seen them all this morning, or the last couple of days, and he was like, I've not really watched any of these.
I saw at the beginning of the Argyle. I saw Henry Cavill's hair, but I skipped the advert because I was watching an important video.
Go away, Cavill Barnett.
Not today. Duke Nukem knockoff, but I was like, oh, hello.
John Cena, Dua Lipa. I mean,
Hobo Sam
great.
Rockwell.
We don't know. Homeless Sam Rockwell, because it turns out that Bryce Dallas Howard is writing a book that's actually happened, and Bryan Cranston's the James Bond level baddie, and Bryan Cranston is fighting Sam Rockwell.
I mean, this sounds
I need her to write the next chapter.
I feel
Samuel
like
L. Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, he's always good in his movie. He's in Matthew Vaughn's previous stuff anyway.
It's a Matthew Vaughn film, so that might, that'll sway your judgment.
Elevate things.
Elevate. Kingsman was okay, apart from the weird, forced in anal sex scene, and Kingsman 2 is questionable. Did he direct The Kingsman?
Yes.
Yes.
That was okay. Fine. It happened.
Hey, made a great X-Men movie if you don't think about it too much.
But I've also just read, Argyle is intended to serve as the start of a franchise consisting of at least a trilogy of films.
Oh, I want...
So this is only Argyle Part 1, potentially.
I want Sam Rockwell was the main character, like the protagonist. I really hate that cat.
Really hate that
killing it, or did I just shit in? Anywho, it does look a lot of fun. There's the Kingsman-y level vibes. It's nice to see Henry Cavill in something that's definitely getting made and not cancelled.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, Bryan Cranston is the baddie. I'm in. He's in a tuxedo doing James Bond level villain stuff.
Brilliant, yes.
I'm in. I want it. Not as much as do we want another Elvis film? We can't go.
Do we want Take Two?
Together
Do we want Take Two?
with suspicious casting.
Suspicious casting.
But
oh dear. Sorry, Austin Butler.
So because I saw a Twitter post, X, whatever you want to call it.
Extreme.
Like, imagine being Austin Butler, like spending 2 years rewriting your biology in your voice box just for what's his name? Jacob.
Oh, Jacob Elordi off of Euphoria fame.
Yes.
Well, that's how I know him.
To just come in
and the Kissing Booth trilogy
and
on
just
Netflix.
Slide in and effortlessly look more like Elvis, sound more like Elvis, and give what seems to be a better Elvis. Because arguably Elvis isn't about Elvis. Elvis is about Colonel Tom Parker.
Tom Hanks' perspective, yeah. It's their business career, whereas this seems to be more behind closed doors from Priscilla's main perspective. But
Priscilla is the main character. Elvis is part of it. So we'll probably see by proxy some of his performance stuff, but I wouldn't outright think we're going to see Jacob Elroy like singing and stuff like Elordi. What is it? Elroy? Fucking I don't know.
Elordi. I think it's Elordi.
Elordi.
Elordi. Yeah.
Sorry, Jacob. We know you're watching, but
yes.
Like I think it will be sort of like you see bits and things of it. It won't be like a main focus of it, like it was in Elvis.
Yeah.
But it looks great. It's a Sofia Coppola film.
Yeah.
It looks like two very strong performances, and it's the focus very much is wife of the king, icon to the world, and we're seeing it is Priscilla's story, dealing with his personal life and his promiscuity and all that kind of stuff. So which
the Elvis film did cover towards the back half of the film, but again, the Elvis Baz Luhrmann was more about the sing-song and the showbiz side of things.
I think the thing that I didn't like about the Elvis biopic, because I eventually saw that earlier this year. I think I bought it on Prime or something. Like, it's good, but it's not an Elvis movie. It's a film in which Elvis happens to be in.
Yeah. He happens to have rolled into frame. Yeah.
We're going to make this about the Tom Hanks character so that we don't focus truly on
Colonel Robert Parker.
But then it's all about those bits and the songs and things, and you still get the set pieces and what but you don't get as much of an impact of what he did to music and the world really, which is a shame. Austin Butler's still fantastic in that film, but vast. Like, if you're going to line up these two films, man,
yeah, especially for diehards that idolise and know the ins and outs of Elvis, and
like my aunt is a massive Elvis fan. Like, she was, devastated when he died. She's a massive Elvis fan. Like the film, and will probably like this. Because this seems more.
What did she think? What did she think of Elvis?
She really enjoyed the Elvis film. Not like, because obviously, like, it's a thing of, like, no one can obviously live up to the stature of being Elvis.
The original, yeah, the OG.
The original, you might say.
Yeah.
But no, she really enjoyed it, and I don't know if she's seen this trailer, so I might send it to her later. She'll be like, have you checked out this?
Elvis
Are you gonna
2.0.
see it?
Yeah.
Because he seems just... The presence as well, like, he's very, like, aloof and mysterious, and it's not really about him, but there's the darkness of the behaviour that we know was definitely there in terms of this is a man riddled by drug abuse in his later career and life, and ultimately ended up costing him his life.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's interesting. I'd be interested to see how it plays out, whether it be like a Bohemian Rhapsody and it would end at a certain point, or it would just end with Priscilla, like it starts and ends with her, and whatever happens to him is just circumstance of the story.
Yeah.
Which I'd be up for. I'd be up for more than a here's a Priscilla movie, but we're gonna have him look all the famous shows. It'd be like making Rocket Man from the point of view
of his mum or his girlfriend.
Of his mum,
yeah.
Or of...
I'm trying to think of a side character.
What was the name?
Yes, Richard Madden, the business character.
Yeah, Richard Madden was Aidan Gillen in Bo Rap. The arsehole agent, but then it was like, and then you just...
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Because this is a Priscilla story, so just have the Elvis stuff happen around it and be organic. But I look forward to that's November. That could be a contender, like... Because I've seen like 40 films this year now, which I know, Connie, you're secretly very impressed by that. Especially over the last couple of years.
I'm very... No, I mean, fake mockery. No, I am impressed because I sort of lost count last week and I had to kind of rekindle.
You're probably on like 50, 60.
Do you want to guess the number? I am in that
67.
range.
67.
Okay, no, you're over it.
Over?
Yeah, when you said
by
50,
a lot.
when you said 50, 60, you were in that range. It's in that.
57.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Oh boy, yes.
I'm only like 17 films behind you.
Which really
if I count all the Roald Dahl stuff, I'm basically there.
I'm basically there, yeah. And that's the thing. I've got to watch all of your digital stuff, and then that will propel me.
That's the thing, because obviously I've not got my card back yet.
No.
You still have it. For me, obviously, and having a kid and
oh damn, 58. Sorry, I miscounted 58.
That's all right.
But yeah. Sorry,
that's close enough.
Yeah.
It's easier to see and obviously, like where stuff's come onto streaming now, I'm able to then see the stuff at the beginning of the year that I missed. Mm-hmm. So I'm still desperate. At some point, I will catch up on Barbie and Oppenheimer because it's something that I've been desperate.
They're
to
do two must-see movie events.
At least for this thing of it. I mean, I'm kind of glad that I haven't really given any money to Oppenheimer, like for Chris Nolan to go, see, it's fucking amazing.
Oh, look at my creation.
But I'm also gutted I didn't give money to Barbie because by all accounts,
But it is coming back at some point on the Cineworld website in 4DX. But I can't remember the dates.
What, Oppenheimer or Barbie?
Barbenheimer. No, but Barbie. I know Barbie is.
Oh, cool.
It's coming back to Cineworld.
It's coming back.
Mm.
Just like Saw is, but no one cares about that. Speaking of...
Unless it's Spiral.
Coming back, we had some footage of Doctor Who, footage of the pickups for the 2023 Christmas special, it seems, at the minute. So more Shooty Gatwa costume changes, but we're fine with that because he's fabulous.
Wonderful.
Do you know what? There's shit for cosplayers, though, because have you seen how expensive the stuff is? So, like, his standard, if we can call it standard. Doctor, because we theorise that that will be sort of him growing into that look.
Persona, yeah.
And then, like, he'll have that sort of more common look, because there's the leather jacket version that we've seen. There's the standard, like, orange thing. He's had so many different costume changes. He is a fabulous, gorgeous...
Vogue fashionista.
Like, we don't want it to become a bit of a catalogue because the leather jacket from the finale that I believe he's wearing in the Christmas special, £995.
Oh boy!
And the orange jumper was 300 odd quid. I think the actual check jacket and trousers are a couple of hundred each. I know there's obviously like Doc Martin sort of shoes.
Doc Martin shoes, yeah.
But still, like, for cosplay. Say what you will about Capaldi, he at least made it cheap for cosplayers. But
yes,
we still are excited for Shooty
customer
Gatwa,
satisfaction. Yeah,
because we can finally talk in full and in spoiler terms on Shooty Gatwa's last project, last TV project.
Yes,
Sex Education Season 4.
The end of it all.
The end. Finish together.
Together.
We briefly ran into each other the other day. So that was
off script, behind the scenes, and
I just saw a very tall man, and I was like, "That looks like my one. That's my boy."
You had the Peter tingle, you had the Connor tingle. You're like, let's see who he is.
But and we briefly talked about Sex Education because I finished that 2 nights ago, I believe.
Because we'd been rewatching it and then got to a point where we was like sort of like we'll get into the points about it, but it kind of felt like we were just sort of going through the motions watching it. Like it wasn't entirely
game changing.
gripped.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't hooked.
But it finished. We finished it. It was emotional in some places. We kind of can't talk about Sex Education as a whole without spoilers. Everyone's probably seen it by now because it's been out at this point for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, nearly 3.
weeks.
But by the time this comes out, I think it'll be 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit late to the party, but this is just a pure Sex Education chat. So it's it's a shorter episode. We're just doing like this is the focus because you like it when we focus on stuff, and goddamn, we're gonna focus for once.
Contact.
So, brief thoughts, because we've spoken about Sex Education on this show. I believe
I think we did. I think we definitely spoke about season 3 when that came out.
When series 2 was coming out, and definitely did the other 2 in a roundabout way before season 3 come out. Because we definitely talked about season 3 because people know our thoughts that it wasn't as good
as the other 2.
It wasn't.
No.
Because this show, I forgot, started in 2019.
It don't feel that old, but freaking.
I mean, that's a year
4
into
years.
the podcast for us. So, your thoughts on Sex Education, pre us, like
pre us,
yeah, like
pre Jordan Peele.
The first time you saw it, and sort of the anticipation for season 4. Like, what's this show been for you?
It has been.
It
has been. No, I think it was a really good. It felt like a movement. It didn't feel like any other show. It felt pretty mainstream. Although, again, that's another side topic of what is mainstream telly and what isn't. Is mainstream just simply terrestrial channels like the BBC, ITVs, and the Channel 4s, the ones that will never go away, or is it now everyone watching it on different apps and services, or for those that really can't afford it, you have to go online. I'll just refer to it as the dark web. But Sex Education for me, I probably watched it just after the right time, but I just felt engrossed in it. And like using similar words to describe Top Boy, it just felt real in some instances. All right, it's completely fictionalized, and I was going to say American, but then Asa Butterfield's British, Gillian Anderson's
predominantly British.
She's American though, but she's putting on a British. She is American English. Yeah. Okay. I just thought she was American playing a British accent, but if she's like sort of half and half, then fair enough.
I believe.
Yeah.
One parent of each, I believe. Julian, if you're listening, get in touch.
Please send us any advice.
But yeah, like I get what you said because it's very sort of Americanized in terms of like its look, its feel.
The budget, the feel. Yeah, it felt like any other show in that sense.
It's almost like it's like a blank canvas, but not, because you can kind of like personify any version. Like it feels American in terms of high school. It's very British in terms of its sensibilities and attitudes towards sex. The characters are so like they're very relatable to English audiences and I assume like American guys because you've got the stereotypical jocks, you've got the nerds, you've got the cool popular kids. You've got the outcast sort of grungy character. Like it's got everything to sort of appeal to all audiences.
Every social background, yeah.
And I agree with sorry to interrupt you,
no.
just there, but it's like I completely agree with you. It's a very sort of its time, very sort of real, very needed show. And I
definitely at the time it came out, yeah.
Appreciate it because at 2019 I was 23. You were 21.
Yes, 21. Yeah, maths. Yeah.
And as much as we've been out of school since secondary school for us, ended
5 years at that point, yeah.
Like it's still very relatable, especially to us. I mean, as people in our mid to going into late 20s. It's still very relatable, and it's kind of a journey that we've all sort of gone on in our lives, and that it felt very nostalgic in the way that I think Stranger Things feels to a lot like our parents or like older siblings, cousins sort of thing, like in terms of it's like retrograde to the 80s. This is very sort of it, as much as it's Batman timeless in terms of like there is like no cars beyond 1990 generally, but you've got a Nintendo Switch here and there, you've got TVs, you've got some phones, some families in terms of their decor, and also if you think about it thematically, their sensibilities, attitudes towards sex and relationships, like the Groffs are stuck in the 70s.
Yeah, stuck in the 70s, yeah. Stuck in that
Otis and Jean are more sort of postmodern, like, early 2000s, 2010s, in terms of the decor of the house, and like they're, obviously very liberal because Jean's a sex therapist. Like, it's so niche in that way. It speaks to me a lot. There's a lot of things I'll get into, especially with the finale, like, it hit some points. This show come at a good time for me. Like, I was not in a good place when this show
came out.
Came out January 2019. So I was, like a long relationship for me had just ended. Like, the podcast had barely sort of begun. Like, sort of like
early days.
It was an early thing for us. We were like 6 months in, if that. I was then alone. I was in a very sort of like, me and
messy.
I was sort of like, not as. It was kind of like a downward sort of thing.
Spiral.
But it sort of, this show kind of lifted. It allowed some like closure for me personally. I know that like you'll sort of speak about your own personal stuff in a minute, like because it speaks to all of us in different ways. But for me, that's what it gave me. And it was almost like it became like a safety net, like a cuddle. Like, it was like a big, warm, nice thing. And I'm one of them people, like, we both watch Doctor Who. We are here, like, endings change. Like, we are not adverse to that. I found this harder to sort of, like, come to terms with the ending in some ways. Because it had been such a fun ride. It had been every year. On the dot without fail.
So you saying compared to season 3 or just in general, you just didn't want the show to end?
This show compared to others that have ended.
Other shows,
like for me, this was a harder sort of like
closure. Yeah.
I think because I'd had a bit more of a personal journey with it. I know that there's media that we get engrossed in, like the MCU, for example. Like it's Endgame for us was a once in a lifetime hit of endorphins that we'll always sort of cherish and love. But it will never hit the same as when we first
of course. Yeah.
And this in a way kind of as well, like this was a show that, I'd definitely gone on a personal journey with. I don't know, like you'll tell us in a minute whether you had as well. So seeing the closure, because there's very few shows that come along, happen and end, and you feel like this sort of thing. Like, a complete contrast to Top Boy ending, really, for me. Like, it was very similar vibes in terms of a lot more could have been done with this season. But I had such a good... Like, those first 2 years of the show are fantastic. Like, we had it show, every year, even pandemic-wise. And then there was a gap and then this. So it felt very... Coin the term, very Game of Thronesian. And another show that ended this year that felt like that. In terms of some negative aspects, some positive aspects. But I felt... like I kind of let go of it.
Yeah.
Sort of the finale allowed me to, like, I think the whole show, like the whole last season, and then with the finale I was able to sort of emotionally like let go of this.
And kind of breathing, then take that deep breath and move on.
And the closest thing I can associate it with ever is kind of Doctor Who, because stuff ends. Like, I know, it's a show that goes on and on, but
new
for
beginnings.
us, it's generally very like nostalgic, era driven. It speaks to us on a personal level. Like, I'm a very different person to who I was in 2005. Like, I was a child. Like, I was like 9 years old when this show happened, but associated with, and it might sound sad to a lot of people, but for me it's a comfort in terms of I associate times in my life with what was happening in Doctor Who. Kind of at the time. Yeah. Like, I can sort of chart sort of, it was there for me in hardest. Like, the Jodie Whittaker era came by in a time that was, a very low point in my life. Like, it was a week after I'd just come out of a long-term relationship and was like on a... So it may have negatively impacted that thing for me. And retroactively going back and sort of finding it anew. Whereas this kind of grabbed me, lifted me, and sort of went along with me, and some things mirrored my life, a bit more than others. Like, I could see myself in a lot of characters, specifically
Shoes. Yeah.
But you can associate with it, and it was real, and it was tangible, and it was exotic, and it was so well made. Like, whatever you think of the show in the last 2 or the last season, like, it was very well made and made by people that loved it.
Consistent.
You finished telling us what it meant to you, and then we'll go on to our thoughts.
Just not to go as personal as George, but just because it was a show that released 2019, then the second season definitely wasn't 2020, but I think that was ended like when everything opened, end of 2020.
Beginning of 2020.
Beginning of 2020.
They were both.
So I
thought January. It was
season 3
fine.
Season 3 was like the first big gap. Fine. Season 1 and 2 kind of felt like. I mean, where was I in 2019? Not to go as personal, maybe, but 2019.
You were a much younger man.
I was, obviously, age-wise.
We had worked together, but it was after, because then we'd started the podcast because we got back in contact.
But that's kind of when was that 7 months of doing the podcast. You don't even feel like that. I can't associate season 1 of Sex Education with like 7 months of this. Where was I in 2019? I just again gone sort of full time at my job. I sort of got the hours I wanted. I was this is when the money came in. And I was just then became sad and busy and started working the long retail life. I'll just quote it as that. And then I guess each season roundabout each releases is when again work related changes happened. Again, it's got absolutely nothing to do with me in a sexual background, but like I'm just trying to
it came around in like sort of important
events, sure, but not of a journey as much as you described. It's just I'm just watching it more from a point of engrossing characters, engaging backgrounds. It makes me appreciate people of different ethnicities and different lifestyles because it just made me see them. Or these are just characters, I know that, but it just made me see them. And if I ever come across any person that's kind of relatable to the backgrounds depicted in Sex Education, it'll be because of the show. Like it kind of showed the LGB side and sort of exemplified and personified the different personas out there in the world. And should I ever come across any of them as such, then by all means I'll embrace it and welcome it with open arms, because this show was kind of the big adult lesson I needed at that time, perhaps, to kind of. I mean,
so inclusive.
It just
like, you're right. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
You are right. It's the first kind of show that was that kind of open and frank about. You've got two like homosexual characters in Eric and Anwar.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a bisexual character in Adam who's going through a journey of self-discovery. Like you've got a sexually sort of repressed and awkward, typical scare quotes teenage boy in Otis. You've got the more sexually promiscuous popular people, but even the stereotypical taboo stuff around it is still like there was still an element of like it was kind of smashing down the stereotypes kind of thing. And I think it can only be, for me, it can only be applauded for how well it was done.
Especially season 1. I think I'll say outright season 1 for me is still possibly the best of the show. I think season 1.
It gels the most. I think 1 and 2, it's two completely different halves.
Yeah, season 1 and 2 is
kind of like a 3-act thing, because
3 acts. Okay.
Season 3 is definitely like a transitional
second.
Because it's it's taken away some of the stuff that worked, and then season 4 could have been a completely different show. On the face of it, like it feels so far removed from the
the aesthetics that we had,
But like with the teenage that it's representing, like it has to evolve, and there is, I have some appreciation for that, but also like some thoughts that. So sorry, he was less of a personal journey, but still like connected.
He just connected and sort of taught me things as I was watching it every year, and just from just different backgrounds and the world around me, I suppose. It just made me realise things that perhaps I should have seen when I was younger, or I probably did think about this person, not in a horrible way, but I kind of thought, what was this all about? But then, having watched this in hindsight, it should have maybe then be the better person and go, right, it might be because of a case of XYZ. And
especially our generation, it was the
last, of our generation,
the last very sort of insular, sort of, you could say like self-centered, a bit
self-centered,
it's a bit like there wasn't, as much as, there were people from all walks of life in schools and that, it still wasn't, like you weren't taught about like everyone wasn't included, whether that be through history, through like sex education sort of thing, like those kind of things, like it wasn't like as visible
that's a good term,
on the table and part of the discussion as it should have been, and it rightfully is now.
And
no matter how much the people that of a certain generation will just say that we're getting woke culture shoved down our throat, at the end of the day, as someone who now has a stake in this, having a kid, like, I have to be as open as he could be.
Of course.
He, like, I would want, like, and if he's listening to this in 10 years' time, it's weird because this is kind of a time capsule of this, but we've always been ones to learn and grow and, like, at least seek out, like, even when we talk about, I know it's, stupid media stuff, but, like, when we're talking about actors that have changed, or the different pronouns, or how people, like, identify, we even say, like, if we're getting this wrong, tell it. We'd rather be told so we can know how to help and know how to be better and be part of it, and at least, be
acknowledge
more of an ally and less of a hindrance. That's what we would. That's what we want to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my son could, be any sexuality he wants, or associate with any kind of gender he wants, and for those that are like that go the other way, it's like you shouldn't raise your child to be a certain gender. At the end of the day, he can't tell me any different at the minute.
No.
Like he was, he is what he is at the minute, and from as soon as he comes to me and says, "Dad, I'm this," then
we need to have a talk. Then
that's when he will 100%. I will be behind him, and whoever he wants to be one day.
Yeah.
So it's important to have, to read up, to be open to these things, because it can change your life. And you don't even know, when and where, and all the people that are
it isn't necessarily the people you know. It's probably who you will meet. It's who you meet.
Against.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna meet a lot more people from different walks of life, just because of everyone is now slowly, and I hope, being able to be more of themselves and
who they are. Yeah.
And that will form a much more unified and brighter world. At the end of the day,
diversified.
So this show is kind of double-edged for me. It's I can see myself, but also the acceptance of a generation to come. It's nostalgic yet future-proof.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
foolproof.
So it's it's a show that I've loved dearly. That being said, Connor, light on. It's getting winter is definitely coming. It's not even 7 o'clock and it's getting dark.
No Kit Harington though, unfortunately.
Oh, you said Kit Harington? I've not been here in ages.
Fuck off, mate. There's bees here now.
Oh, not very nice, Jason Statham from telly.
From the telly. I'm from the big screen, mate. I don't know what fucking telly you're looking at.
Thoughts on season going into it, and then pre and post season 4.
Pre and post. Woohoo! At the time, we have kind of been not anti on season 3, but again, it's the weakest of the trilogy at that point. Should it have ended? I think there's more evidence to yes, but after season 4. Season 3, is it as bad as we is it as bad as we thought it was? No, I just think after displacing its narrative, season 3 just doesn't have as many low points as originally it had.
Yeah,
maybe from a different lens, perhaps. But of course, we wouldn't have said season 4 was going to be better or worse because season 4 hadn't happened yet. It's a paradox within itself.
Yeah, it's a snake eating its own tail.
But of course, we were excited. We were over the moon, and of course, cautiously optimistic because again, we're in the era from Game of Thrones. Shows tend to end diversively. They don't end on a high or bad note. It always has to be
one or the other,
like a middle note.
It's
we kind
of either the best thing ever, the worst thing ever, but generally a lot of the time it can fall more in the middle. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
It's very wibbly wobbly. Yeah.
How long did it take you to watch season 4?
So I'd been watching it maybe by the time this comes out, maybe 4 podcast episodes ago. I think
you did start before me, didn't you?
Yeah, but then I saw you the next week, and you were halfway through season 2, and it was that weekend where I did finish season 1 at least. I think so. 3 podcasts ago, I think I did season 1 that night, and then by the time I got to that weekend, I was on the last episode of season 2. So I literally just blitzed the golden era of sex education and was just fully engrossed and just loved it. But even picked out things I didn't notice this time, which was good. But I'll get to that maybe when we actually talk about the show as a whole. And then 2 weeks ago is season 3, and then last week, definitely by the time we recorded last week's was definitely the time I sort of finished the show. So say 3.5 weeks ish journey.
So for season 4 specifically, was it
a
couple of days?
Cut with 3 days, I think. 3 days.
It probably I think it took me like a week and a half because I'd seen you and I'd watched a couple. I'd caught up to the point where I was about to start it, and then the next week I was almost halfway through it. So I didn't do bad on that.
No. It's that's something I don't want it to be a race. Just like watched it. It's never, the show's never like a race. It was just convenience. I was just free that weekend. I just again wasn't exactly doing much, and it was just more of a case of I might as well just rinse it out and get it done. But nonetheless, we both watched Sex Education. We had faults. I had faults. All right, I may have had more time to sort of pine on it, but like when we met in our non-studio location yesterday, yesterday? It was yesterday. But like 3 days ago by the time this comes out. I'm not more negative on it, but it just kind of is how you probably felt about season 3. It happened, and the ending, the last episode, without way jumping ahead, the last episode I thought itself was fine. I kind of like some of the closures, but there was just a lot of character arcs where I felt just a bit underwhelmed, and I kind of wanted to go, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? And again, we'll specify when we talk more in depth, but it sort of punched the land, like just stuck the landing, but there were so many loose bubbles and thoughts in my head that could have been addressed. And if Big Finish are ever listening to this, like Nicholas Briggs, yes, I am listening, then please make a Big Finish sex education continuation thing, Aliens Among Us series, to continue give us an ending, please. But I don't know. It's just some loose threads where I thought they were kind of thought bobbling, and was that really the end? After the journey that we've been on?
Yes.
But, yeah.
Can I say, I think it's the weakest season.
The weakest link. Goodbye!
This, like, to go off of Top Boy as well, because, I'm not saying that I hate this or dislike it or that it was bad. This is a very well-made season of television. I think, and I said to you, the absences were just too great. And I feel like there was too much missing from the show. Like, this wasn't sex education.
No.
Of old.
No.
But rightly so. Like, shows like that adapt, change, evolve, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's about the adapting relationships and how you change as a person from your teenage years as you try your best to get ready for adulthood. But,
of course.
I think that just season 1 is like, it was such a lightning in a bottle. Season 2 does a lot of that stuff, but a bit better in some ways, a bit worse in others, but together they work so strong as television.
Back to back especially, yeah.
Season 3 is when there's some changes coming in, and ultimately actions from season 2 have ramifications right up to the end of the show.
Yeah.
But also it's the start of, mainly like when you look at Michael Groff, like it's the start of the downfall and the change and the eventual closure of Mordell. And a lot of season 3 felt like a better end for some characters than this. We'll get into that more, because we're obviously not going to go beat by beat for the whole season. We're going to give our genuine and general thoughts about it. But I think there was just, it's when, it got commissioned right after season 3.
Yeah.
And then it was, because that was 2021, and then earlier this year it was, it's going to be the final season. Because obviously there was a lot of characters that weren't in it and already said they weren't coming back, like in various radio interviews or just
articles in general stuff. Yeah.
Said they wouldn't be returning. And Ncuti Gat was going off to be the Doctor, so he's not going to have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Emma Mackey, her star is on the rise, and she's doing some fantastic stuff. Amy Lou Wood, fantastic. We're going to go over our top characters, because I think we all agree that they're not the big 3.
No, shock horror. It ain't no Disney trio Mickey Mouse thing there.
But like I enjoyed bits of it spoke more to me than others. Like the stuff, like personal circumstance, meant that the Mr. Groff Adam stuff, like it really resonated in some ways. And I'm like someone that I don't let that kind of stuff, or try not to let that kind of stuff sort of like influence. But like that was a genuine, and also it was genuinely nice to see as characters those two come together towards the end and complete their journey
from start to finish.
I think some of the places where we left off were a bit, like you say, were a bit weak. Some of the characters, like to quote the principal of Cavendish College, like this was all kind of a waste of time. We eventually ended up back at the status quo at the beginning of the season, really.
Yes.
And it was kind of like we'd gone on this journey for nothing. But
I laughed, and then it felt meta when they said that, and I kind of thought, well, what have we actually achieved this season?
Some things hit well, some things didn't. I don't want any more of this.
No, this has to be it. I agree. It can't be no more.
Because Emma Mackey was asked about,
a possible season
5, and she said, I don't know what the state of play with that is, because I think this was at the This was at the BAFTA Awards in 2022. So this was because they filmed. Obviously, they were filming season 4. Was the reason why Ncuti Gatwa couldn't be the Doctor yet. So that's that was through 2022, and then beyond before he could come and do this.
Do this, yeah.
So she was like, well, whatever the state of play is with that, because I think this was before they'd announced it was the last one. She was like I've said goodbye to Maeve, I'm done.
Yeah, flat out. No thanks.
And with this season, I think, should she have come back? I like Emma Mackey. She's a great actor.
Cool actress, yeah.
But did Maeve really add anything to the plot?
No.
Was there much more for her to do?
She was overseas, of course. There's more variety, more locations. She's in America, baby.
Dan Levy.
Yeah, from Schitt's Creek for some reason. Yeah.
Anything really? No. The stuff in America, like you said to me before, was underwhelming. There weren't really much built upon it.
No.
There was just
it was just her in the same classroom. Yeah.
For her to get to a reason where she comes back,
and
then she goes again anyway.
Yeah.
The thing that would piss a lot of people off, because we'll go into spoilers in better detail, but straight off, I think the thing that pissed a lot of people off is that after all that time, Otis and Maeve wasn't the end game.
It wasn't the end goal. Dun. Yeah.
And that can work. That's okay.
It is an acceptable ending.
Laurie Dunn, who created Sex Education, did a lot of the writing in earlier seasons. Because originally, when it was picked up, she was doing a lot of the writing. Ben Taylor was doing a majority, if not all, of the direction. First 2 seasons are very similar like that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Season 3 and 4, there's, as it should be, there's different and new directors and writers. But she didn't write the finale. It was someone else.
What, to season 3 or season 4?
For the very final episode, that wasn't written by her.
That wasn't by her, fine.
Which I would have expected it, because she's
definitely
shared some of her personal journeys and people like her experiences in her work. Because I believe the stuff with Amy and the sexual assault comes from a very personal circumstance, if you've listened to any of her interviews. So that was the story she was always determined to
to tell,
and wanted to be the person to write it and say it.
Fine, okay.
So I don't know if, it's a show that got bigger and bigger and more popular, and, maybe there was just too much in it, too many creatives, Netflix maybe stirring in with it.
Yeah. They're trying to appeal to everyone, but then that's the classic saying goes, you can't please everyone. Not to say that we're in the minority and we're only a small percent of the audience that feel this way. It's just, like you say, it probably got too big for its boots. Maybe some corporate interference and maybe meddling behind some closed doors.
Should we say the positive stuff?
Fine. Yeah.
I'll say one, you say one, right?
Fine.
I really liked Ruby and where she ended up and her sort of whole thing.
We're going to talk about Adam Mr. Groff, because I think overall, I think they're probably our favourite characters, I think, out of everyone.
Top 3 characters of Sex Education are...
Fine. I feel cheeky. I'm going to put Adam Mr. Groff as 1 combined.
I'd be honourable mentions like Mr. Groff, but them 2 together.
Them 2 as an entity, yeah.
They are because of each other.
They are because of each other. Do your top 3.
Adam, Amy, Ruby.
So I would have gone, Adam / Mr. Groff, Ruby, and who else?
Amy. Yeah.
I'd go Amy, then Jackson.
I would love to put Jackson in the top 3.
Yeah. It's just the ending for you.
What's his name, the actor? Because he's a fantastic young actor. I mean, young. He's in his early mid-20s. Wasted. There was a lot of the characters that are still here. We have to kind of find them and give them something to do. And the characters that we want to see just aren't here as well. We wanted to see everyone. For me, I'll keep the positive. I'll keep on the positive stuff.
I mean, I might be saying it wrong, but Kedar Williams Sterling is Jackson's actor.
Fantastic actor. Jackson Marchetti is such a great character. But post and even including season 2, I don't know who Jackson is. I'm not clear on who he is, what he wants to. He's obviously spending his life doing what other people want and trying to
please everyone. Yeah, and his background and his parents.
And we're still no clearer on who he is as a person.
No.
like his values. The best thing, one of the best friendships in the whole show is him and Viv, and I will like in terms of friendships,
They're
right,
top.
right near the top.
Yeah, they're at the top.
I'd say you could even argue that at points they are much better than Otis and Eric.
Yeah.
But Laurie Dunn has said, like, as much as it's the relationships of the characters and the romantic entanglements, it's also the relationship at the core of it is Otis and Eric, the best friends, because there's, they end up kind of where they began. This season's very poetic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's like poetry, right?
Poetry, yeah.
Emotion. We end the season with a letter from Maeve to Otis, whereas the first one we ended with a letter from Otis to Maeve. We kind of leave it in a place of where it begins. It was kind of fitting that Amy possibly almost had the last sex scene when she was the first person on screen.
Oh my god, yeah.
Her and Adam having a full-on fucking
session.
Yeah. Like, I love Adam. I think Adam is just such an underrated and underappreciated character. I think Connor Swindles is fantastic. If you've not seen
Big
him in
up Connor.
SAS, fantastic. He's also the intern in the Barbie movie.
Wonderful. He's on the up.
Like,
he's only a year older than me. He's 27.
Amy Lou Wood, fantastic. Like, some of her best performances is the stuff in season 2, and that whole arc has an effect up until the end and where she wants to go and what she wants to do with her artistry. Does the stuff with Isaac seem a bit forced? It could do, but I kind of think it's a natural growth to kind of, someone who's dealt with that much trauma to find comfort in someone who's also been through that much personal trauma, but also in the show, the romantic repercussions of like where he was left last season.
Yeah.
In terms of him and Maeve. I think Ruby stand out just because she was so unobtainable and unhumanizable, really, in season 1.
So unlikable. Yeah. Such a villain.
Yeah. I didn't think you'd remember me. Why? Because you're just such a bitch.
Yeah.
But like, fantastic. But it's like, Mimi Keene is, apart from being, gorgeous and young and like, amazing at her job, she is very good at the nuance and the depth and the sort of sadness behind the eyes. I think the stuff with her dad really did a lot to sort of bring us closer to her.
Yeah.
And the whole stuff with Otis, it felt like very much of, we kind of got to like reset this and get it back to the status quo, because that's what everyone wants is Otis and Maeve. But we kind of threw away a good relationship, and so many times there's just a little thing of it could just go back. Like, that at that time when he's watching the Three Housewives of Miami or whatever it is, the show there
in the bed,
where he stays and has spends the evening with her, that if he just said one thing, she would like be there for him.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing that O has of you're doing all this, like running around after him so that he hopes that he realizes he's made a mistake. Even like the subtle thing of when Maeve goes to register at the college and they're both walking holding hands, it's just her face and the way she sort of slowly backs out of because they're in the hall bit, aren't they? She kind of just backs out, turns around and goes.
Yeah.
And that whole stuff, that's played off beautifully. Even when they have their brief interaction and, I know there's a bit of the on the cliche, on the nose speech that Ruby does at the end, this whole like being kind crap thing. But she has grown, and I really appreciate where she gets with Otis of like, no, you did mess me around, and at this moment, like, I've got no time for you. It does leave it in a kind of cheeky way of like they're both with this, like they could.
It could still be a spark. Well, yeah.
They had more chemistry for me, and that's
I think natural chemistry. Yeah.
And the big thing for me is that the stuff with Otis and Maeve we wanted a long time ago, and I think.
But as a metaphor, they're showing us the growing audience. Things change, wants change, and ultimately it's about moving on.
Your teenage years. Like so many changes, you think you know what love is, and it's never that.
No.
And you think what you think you wanted is not what you wanted at all. But
exactly,
we went past. They both missed the bus for those kind of things, literally and metaphorically. Like we kind of just went past it.
Mm-hmm.
And season 3 kind of felt like but no, we got to get back to where we want. Whereas
the ship had sailed, and it was like, hang on, no, we need one more thing before we go off. and do our grand tour. Yeah,
like she's in America. Like he doesn't need to be with her or be that faithful to her or be so. I know teenagers can be like in a long distance relationship. It's like no, like I'm loyal to this person. Whereas the stuff with Ruby, you can see in his eyes, he's just like it would be so much easier to still be
just
with you.
Yeah.
And he never. And the thing that always gets me is he never said he didn't love Ruby. Like it was.
No, he never. He just never said it either.
He said like, I have to say that in my own time. Like I really like it. That's the thing though, because love is a big word. Like when you feel it and when you know it, you can say it. But Ruby had obviously opened up to him, and that was her chance to say it. But he wasn't there yet, which is natural and fine. But had they still been together, he would have definitely got to that point.
Yeah, of course.
Because he'd found like he was the one that wanted to get to know her better and didn't want it to just be meaningless, like open-ended casual sex. Like he's more of a relationship guy than a casual sex guy. Like he's meaningful.
Of course, outstanding citizen. Yeah.
Should we talk about the big absences? Really? We'll talk about Jackson.
Yeah, fine.
3 things. None of them had time to breathe. I think his dad should have been the main arc.
Definitely should have been the main arc. Yeah.
Like trying to find out who his birth dad is, and that's kind of just glossed over in the last 2 and a bit episodes. And a waste of Hannah Waddingham.
I know. And Sharon Duncan Brewster. Yeah.
Fantastic actors who we'd get to barely see any time of them either.
It feels like 10 minutes worth of screen time in total, if not even that. Because I don't think they're even in the same episode. I think Sharon's in like 1 episode, then it's Hannah in 1 episode, and then maybe you get them at the end.
Get them both together in the last one, kind of thing. But like stuff for them. The stuff with Viv and Bo, like we get in an actual like abuse, like domestic abuse level thing.
Did I kind of see that twist coming? Not at the minute, but I kind of got caught off guard. I didn't expect it to go in that route, but I'm glad it did. I am glad it did, but like I was really kind of like
because you thought it was just going to be something, but there's something ticking away. Jackson notices it, and he thought it was going to come to a crescendo of the conflict of them, of like him just being jealous, and it kind of plays out that bit at the funeral. Mm-hmm. Like then it's sort of brushed off of like, oh no, he was right, but then she kind of quickly, in terms of the final episode, she goes from like I should text him to, oh, like I never want to hear from you again, and we don't see her sort of like getting to that, because we know that at that point Amy's burnt the jeans from the sexual assault and sort of done that as that is her photography piece, is of the feelings of even when I'm doing stuff I love, I feel like I'm still wearing them and I'm still trapped by them, and it's the empowerment of getting rid of them,
getting rid of it,
and the freeing, and the fact that she gets to a point where she can be a bit more open in relationship wise with Isaac in a way that we didn't see her be with Steve in the latter stage. We don't even get a mention really of Steve.
Shame. Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen Viv sort of be part of the jeans burning thing and have that sort of be a thing of, no, I can take control of this situation, and this like no man is able to control me, and you're not like
I'm my own identity, or individual.
Like this is me, this is my life, you will not dictate to me who I am, kind of thing. So there should have been more time for that. The stuff that I really wanted to see more was with Cal, because
definitely from going from season 3 to this season, especially
because Cavendish College is more open and inclusive. There's 2 transitioning characters in Abby and Roman. Abby is played by a transgender actor. I don't know. I think Roman's played by. I don't know if he's transitioning or if he's just gay. I'm not sure. I haven't read up on that. I should more, but it's nice how genuine that was for it to feel very authentic. So it wasn't just kind of we're just
put together.
Cast this and make it seem like it's representative for everyone, because it allowed for the first time in mainstream television for the trans community to, like you say, feel more visibly seen. It allows Eric to have some more time in the spotlight and be like more of a a figure in his own life of like this is more, he's able to like the stuff with Otis, like there's parts that him and Otis will never see eye to eye on because they are from 2 completely different worlds, and he was able to feel more comfortable, more himself, and I love that. I love where he ends up with his, I think out of the big 3 Eric comes off the best, Eric, in terms of his future and where that's going, and sort of the whole Signs from God stuff. I like how that. I don't think Eric really played in with the faith and sorry, what you saying?
I was literally just going to say, I don't think Eric really had a down moment like we've had with Otis and Maeve. Eric out of the 3 is definitely the most consistent. He was
the strongest. Yeah,
the strongest.
Everyone would argue that it's just a 2-piece, but Eric is as much part of Otis's life as much. And the point where they have that conversation where you generally think they're not going to be friends anymore, and obviously it comes to them resolving it. And there is just such a deep brotherly, special love and bond there that you know it's going to take a lot more than that to break them up. Standouts for this season go to I think the funeral episode, like you said, is the best one.
Episode 6.
Unfortunately, Maeve's mum dies in an overdose off screen, which is a shame because we don't get to see more Erin. We don't get to see Sean with Erin.
No. At least Sean came back for this season, but again, we should have had more of a family dynamic. Because even from the first season, because I forget he was only in season 1, then he isn't seen until now. Yeah. I kind of, in my head, imagined another scene with him in season 2 where he went to the caravan one last time with Maeve and she wasn't there or something. But that's in the audio spin-off I'm trying to make in my head. But no, it was good to see. I can't think of the actor, but it was good to see Sean again. But I kind of would have liked to at least seen Sean and Erin together because I'd felt like part of Maeve's journey throughout the whole show would have been the family dynamic. And all right, cool, the family dynamic continues in the form of Erin, her mum. Coming into season 2, still plays around in season 3 minorly until she runs.
Even after the repercussions,
yeah. But then of course is mentioned off screen because she's passed away, and obviously a lot of her arc when she comes back from America is dealing with her mum and the funeral, and
that's the plot point that gets her back, and that's all that really serves for. But there is the good emotional thing of like, there wasn't any friends for them to invite, so Amy takes it upon herself to invite the class. Essentially, with the best and arguably so short the cameos of Mr. Hendricks and Miss Sands.
Yeah.
We get the beautiful, like the piano moment is beautiful and poignant, and that's very good. Like there is some great emotional core in here. It's where you get the likes of then like Viv Jackson. It's when it's the first and only scene that Adam shares with the rest of the gang because he's very isolated in his story this season, which I didn't like.
No.
Purely from the fact of, we said before, the characters that are missing are such a big miss. I know that they ended the Ola and Lily stuff because it felt like a natural place to end it, like they'd come to terms with each other's things and sort of being more with each other, and there wasn't a way to have them in it, and then you can't then just cause conflict for conflict's sake for them to have an arc. But It would have been nice for them to be in it in some capacity, if not the whole season, an episode or part of an episode kind of thing. Because I refuse to believe, and I said this to you, that Adam and Ola would
still not be friends. Yeah.
Because Ola is one of Adam's best friends. Like, that stuff with Ola, creates a great plot point where Adam gives advice to Otis about helping him deal with, the baby and stuff like that, and how she's feeling about her mum and all that stuff, because they're friends and because they speak. Like, you see them, like, just round each other's houses in season 3.
Yeah.
Like, they are friends. Like, why are they not here? Like, and there's no mention of Lily. There's
no mention of Lily, no.
There's 2 or 3 mentions of Jakob, because obviously we had the DNA thing.
Oh, who's the father? Oh, he's not the father.
I think that was kind of a pointless thing in terms of the whole father plot point, because it ends up being Motorcycle Dan from season 1.
Extra character from season 1 who then turns out to be like the nucleus of it all in the end. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
That don't feel so poetic.
It was nice for him to be included because then it ends with them together as it ended, like begun with like them having a one night stand and him walking into Otis's room. So there was a thing there, and it's, the growing up and the family thing, but I think it was another element that didn't need to be brought in.
I don't think bottom line
it didn't add much.
It wouldn't have been brought in had Jakob and Ola stayed. I think you would have had more of that family. Maybe you would have had the plot line of
maybe
he's not the dad.
But then him coming to terms and being part of it, because that would have been like, she gets her name from Ola. Like, Ola named Joy.
Exactly.
And not even part of it. The whole stuff with her and going back to work was good. You could have lived without it, but I think it did some nice stuff for Jean, and I think it was a beautiful family moment at the end where, like, Otis comes to terms with the fact, because Maeve wasn't going to go back to America because she's having a hard time with it, because the tutor played by Dan Levy is basically told her she's not cut out to be a writer. She's kind of just like come to terms with, like, maybe this isn't for me. But Jean, in the awkward meeting, which I don't get why it's awkward between them two, because they have the awkward meet up at the pool when she picks them up. It's the weird standoffish, like, hello Maeve, and they're kind of staring at each other, and then they don't see each other until 2 episodes later when she comes around for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that
it took them 4 seasons to get a scene between
it was great between the two of them. It was fantastic.
But it took them that long for them to meet.
But why is it? Yeah. But why is it taken that long?
Yeah.
And why is it? I like that Jean basically is her parent for her in that because she's lost so much, and she said like, you know, that whole scene is beautiful. Of like, you know, I don't know you well, but you're the kind of person that's had to raise themselves for a lot of their life, and you're doing a really good job, but you've never had anyone in your corner like a parent for when things get tough to, you know, pick you up, tell you to dust yourself down, and to not let anyone else tell you what you can be, because you were special enough to get on this. So why have you not got as much chance of succeeding as everyone else? And pushes her basically in a similar thing of what Amy does to her at season 3, for her to go back.
For her to go back.
And for them to essentially end Maeve and Otis's relationship, because I like how Otis takes the approach of like he has to be adult about it, because I know like he's been missing her and they've been trying to make it work. They have the whole phone sex thing and like, you know, making it work as much as they can. For those that have tried to make a long distance relationship work, know the difficulties of it.
Of course.
But and then being back together, and like it's obviously he's going to have the whole selfish thing of like, you know, she was like she wanted to stay with me kind of thing. We finally get them having sex.
Yeah. And
that was kind of very like, you know, and I really like when she says goodbye, and he's like, I'm going to close my eyes because I can't watch you go.
Yeah.
But he's the one that's made the thing of like,
you should go.
Like he comes to terms with like it was the best decision for him, and that family hug did get me. Just because it's the way he also then like he's hugging Joy and like kisses her as well, and it's just so cute. Having kids, you're an emotional wreck, honestly.
Hear it from George firsthand, folks.
As much as I have been before, anyway. But it's when he's kind of like, because she's determined, you know, she's always wanted to get out of Mordell. There's been the whole thing of like, you know, you could actually make a life for yourself, get out of this place. And, you know, Sean makes it a point of like, he has to get out of Mordell to get clean because he's been using, and, you know, he's basically heading the same way as his mother, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, we both know it would be too hard, and I would feel like I was holding you back because she would purposefully not go out there and be herself as much, because she would be like, you know, that's what it's like with a long distance relationship. Like you want to be in each other's lives and don't want to let each other go, but sometimes the best thing for it is to let it go.
Let it go.
Comes to that point, and they both, you know, tell each other they love each other, which is, there was a nice symmetry in their two's romantical journey. They both were dating the most popular person at school. They said they loved them to them, but they couldn't say it back. And they could only say it to each other.
Yeah. Damn.
Jackson told Maeve that he
a couple times, and
that was kind of like the breakdown of their relationship, and that was the downfall for
Otis and Ruby. Rotis and
stuff like the party fundraiser scene at the end would have hit more if all the characters were there.
Yeah.
As much as, you know, people found, you know, people don't like change, but people really, for some reason, didn't gel with a lot of the new characters. I didn't think they were bad.
No.
Like they were clearly in it because, you know, we needed, you know,
the lack of
new
star power.
There were characters that we were missing. So there was, you know, room for new characters to come in and be part of it, and we had a lot more representation and new stuff. Like it was, I think Aisha was my favourite out of the Coven. Like PK was set up to be like part of it as well, but she or they, I don't know what the character pronouns were, but I'll barely mention and only get a couple of things in terms of the controversial stuff with O. I think O was an okay character.
O for okay.
Served in terms of Ruby's development and you know, that stuff, and you know, it all come full circle in the end and didn't really matter.
No, like the headmaster says, yeah.
But you know, the stuff I thought we'd see more of Cal because of this inclusive, and you know there was trans characters from all sexual orientations and backgrounds and like genders, and Cal was not given like the ability to sort of enjoy like. Because when they first see the, you know, gender neutral like bathrooms, there was kind of a thing of like, oh, this is just like natural, like because where they had to hide and get changed in the old abandoned bathroom before in Mordale, it's come a long way. I like that Mordale gets a bit of a close, like they get the symmetry of them being in the pool again together.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The letters, it all kind of comes full circle and it's mirrored and it's done very nicely in some aspects.
It's weird talking about it because you actually pointed out some things I didn't notice at all, but yeah. Anyway.
For me, it was a shame that he was on his own, but the Adam and Michael Groff stuff, like it was so sad that first episode where Mr. Groff and Ruby are eating in the toilets alone.
Yeah.
And that was so very, especially when he's walking around going I deserve to be here. I am enough. I'm trying to be a better person. It's like because he's doing those courses, he's trying to be better with Adam. You get a brief glimpse of his old personality at the dinner table. You can't just have a career because you love animals. And the driving lesson where he loses his temper. He's like, Dad, stop apologising because it's just weird. Like all you're doing is apologising to me. Like personally, all this stuff spoke to me on such a thematic level. And I think some of the standout performances in terms of this season, if not maybe the show, was when Adam crashes that tractor and then goes to his dad's. And like the first thing I thought was, I'm going to disappoint my dad. And like this, and like Michael's really taken aback by it, and in terms of where he would have been, the power dynamic shifted because it would have been him, he shouts at him in season 1 or 2, like when you've jumped off a motorway bridge at the age of 25 because you've got no career aspects or something. It's him going like, you've made me feel like I've been shit at everything since the day I was born. Like you don't even like me and stuff like that. And it leaves it on a thing of then he has personal stakes in because Cal goes missing to a point where everyone is looking for them. Like I don't know who plays their mother, but she was in Doctor Who, I believe, and like she's a fantastic actor as well. Didn't get enough time of Cal and their mum sort of working out the differences. You get a brief sort of glimpse of. There's a lot of glimpses in terms of the endings of this could be resolved, or this is where it's going, or
this is where it's hinted at.
It's going to take time, and like in its hints and things and crumbs, but it's not
concrete answers.
I think Cal could have been such a major player. Even who was the other transgender?
Exactly, I can't think of the name.
That was kind of set up that them and Cal were going to be quite good friends, and that they would be a bit more in the season as well. The character's not even in it or mentioned
at all. No, that's disrespectful.
And when Cal goes missing, and then Mr. Groff goes and finds it, was like, I'd hate to think of like anything like that happening to you while you still thought that I didn't like you. And like even talking about it now, like it kind of it's got me because it's like that whole thing of like a father and a son. There's so many strange relationships we ourselves have been or are, have had those kind of things. If we've not been as close to our dads as we've maybe would have liked.
Layla's her name.
Layla's not even mentioned.
No.
Justice for Layla. Get Layla back in it. But
yes,
those kind of circumstances and emotions, like for him to be like, oh, I do like you. In fact, like, I love you. Like, you're my son. Like, I love you. And that's just it's taken him that whole journey of like, he even like, I like how he even goes like, and you're just doing a job that you hate because you're scared to do anything else. And he does make more changes to himself. He applies for a catering job because that's what he would love to do. He makes more effort with his son. And they have, like, and I like the whole sort of the juxtaposition, and it just throws you off when Adam's just like, do you want to hug a horse? Hugging a horse makes everything...
makes everything feel better,
No, I'm good, thank you. But I'd really like to hug you, and they've never been like that. And that whole honestly,
that was the moment. Yeah, but
to get personal, such a powerful thing, and that I ugly cried at that, and that was it hit me on a whole.
Going on the personal note, like you and your journey, as you said at the beginning of this sex education talk, that I guess is probably the most personal I have had. Not to get personal, so me and my dad have not had the Adam Groff and Adam relationship, but we've essentially been estranged, and like again a year ago we've kind of reunited, and to have that like I love you scene between someone who wasn't there in my life like at all, for circumstances that weren't even nothing to do with me, but then to kind of just see an exchange of like, yeah, I love you son, like I love you dad, that
it's easy to
that was just kind of a
have yourself projected.
So again, Adam and Mr. Groff was very much in that moment. It was kind of like a yes. For me, that's when I could resonate with.
That was a big sort of like And partially down to like obviously the personal thing will drive that on, but also it was for them to finally come from they hated each other
and didn't say any. Like Adam didn't say any words to. It was
like
just
even at the dance at the end of the season, like I hate you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and everything like you've met, like in their whole journey, like from like Stern and like it's because and it come from his father and his brother like. And it really, the turning point for him is that dinner with his brother, where he's like, "And you only bullied me so that he wouldn't bully you. Like you'll be a shit. You were a shit when we were younger. You'll be a shit till you die. And it's because our father was the biggest shit of all. And you only did what you did so that he wouldn't pick on you, and that you just picked on me. And because stuff like that, parents of previous generations can be like that and drive the emotions out of you. And it's the emotions that make you alive and make you human. Like you." I saw a thing that was like, I think it was on Twitter. It was like, you should never let the family you come from affect the family that you came from you.
Right, yeah.
And that's a thing that is like
poignant.
Someone that like, you know, and also the sins of the, in terms of the sins of the father are not the sins of the son. Like in terms of when Remy's book was brought up by O in the debate and like, obviously like, his dad's a shitheel and stuff like that, but like as much as he can still love him, like he's like I don't agree with anything my dad says.
Exactly.
He's not
We're different people,
and he's not had any contact with Remy since mid-season 3.
I would have liked an appearance from James Purefoy. I would have liked to see maybe an appearance.
But I kind of think it didn't. It would have just been a thing of like, you know, would it have added to anything really? No. I really like Joanna. I think Joanna was a great addition. I think it's so believably sisterish between the two of them. The abuse thing coming into that and that playing into her calling the show at the end as a way of her accepting help and coming back home to probably live with them forever. And like I like that. I like where they're left. The Gene stuff, it could have been sort of you know, streamlined a bit more and worked out a bit more. I love the radio producer. I thought she was great. Like she was funny. What was it? You're not Jean. You're a stranger. Yeah. when she's at the door, like I think it's in the last episode, isn't it? Because I think who answers the door? Is it Joanna or someone that's not Otis or Jean answers the door? And it's like
you're not Jean. You're a stranger.
You're not Jean. You're a stranger. Like, there's just some great one line, and she had her own personal hang-ups and like sexual things to happen. Like, you know, she was in a loving relationship with her wife and had 2 sons and things like that. It's like it's great. Like she was a lovely welcome addition. I think the absences were just so obvious and so easily, like, you know, just to have them. Like even if Jakob had turned up at the end,
exactly,
it would have just been a bit of like, you know, had some time to think about it, but like, you know, she's still my daughter kind of thing, because we don't know if Dan, the motorcycle man's going to have anything to do with Joy, because we never see Jean telling him.
No.
He just comes in for that chat, and then Otis goes upstairs, and we end with the letter. From Maeve that essentially is very similar wording-wise
to the
season 1 with the you have the ability to make people feel truly seen, and that's what you did for me, because Otis, you know, thought I liked being invisible, but like, you know, you made me want to be something more. And you get that with Maeve saying like, however shit it is, we can't be together. Like I will never stop opening myself up. Like I'll never keep myself like
closed in. Again. Yeah.
And I will carry part of you with me wherever I go. I mean, literally, because she stole one of his T-shirts.
Thief. That's a plot I need resolving.
I think the best stuff with them was because really Emma Mackey was barely in it. Apart from 6 and 7, I think is when she does the most and her best stuff. The date with Otis and things like that. I like and don't like that he felt guilty enough to say that he spent the night with Ruby. It made it sound worse than it was. Like
he definitely made
it. It was a friend thing of like, these two had a relationship, so like when she's like hasn't got any plans and is on her own, and
it was a dramatized conversation.
Eric is out. Of course, he's gonna sit there and they spend time together, and just the way they glance at each other, even when the other's not looking, it's still there. And I still think they should have been endgame. The show could have ended and should have probably ended with season 3. I like where a lot of stuff ended up and a lot of the emotional beats. Overall, it's a bit meh in places if you take the overall tone, but there is some definite high points and some definite things where it's like because that's the first thing last episode when it was like there's not enough, like I need more, like you've kind of just because it wasn't even like, with probably a poor example, but like In Between is like it ended with them ending school near enough. Really, it was like. I know, like, it wasn't their exam, but, like, it was kind of just, like, in the middle of the school year, they've had mock exams. It wasn't like a
big send-off,
like, we're
graduation,
leaving school and, like,
prom,
what are we going to do in the world kind of thing.
No.
I wish Jackson had done more. I wish we'd have seen more of him and Viv, more of his mum. Cal, I think, criminally underserved.
Criminally, yeah.
Amy, the most consistent character throughout the series. The arc of Adam was spectacular, as well as Ruby, but I think those three are just the holy trinity. The stuff with Mr. Groff, not enough. And I think when moving to the new college, that was the whole thing of like, you know, we're missing out on the teachers, we're missing out on a lot of, because it wasn't even all of the background. There was only a few background students, mainly the Connor, because we only learnt his name this season, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's said in other things, because he was the guy in season 1 that's like, you know, I can't stop wanking. Like,
I can't stop wanking.
Doing it right
of
now.
course his name was Connor, yeah.
But like things like that, like, and you know, the addressing of absence is like, oh, Olivia and Anwar go to a different school, they don't have time to see me.
Yeah.
Jacob and Ola are gone. Like, Jacob only gets name dropped like twice. He keeps getting referred to as my ex, you know, the whole letting go thing I like with the treehouse and stuff, but I think Jacob was such a great, like, him and Jean were so great together, and it was the reluctant relationship in season 3 of them coming back together for this baby, for it to then be nothing.
I know.
It then made sense for them to not do it again, but also we miss out on him, we miss out on Ola, we miss out on Lily, we miss out on Ola being friends with Adam, which definitely would have happened. She definitely would have kept in contact with him. I refuse to believe otherwise. Eric grew a lot. The core bromance between those two was good. Like, I like how it ended up of, like, we don't know if Otis ever texts Maeve again, or if Maeve texted it, because she obviously assuming, like, I left the note and he's not said anything.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, it's a shame that it wasn't Endgame, but I liked that it was an adult decision that was made of kind of like, we can't do this. Should we kind of end by talking about, you know, the sex scene, really? Like, them finally, what everyone had been clamouring for, them two to be together. You know, and we get the whole thing of maybe his PTSD, like, mum issues are back. But then it comes down to the depression and links into that, which is good, and O helps out with that. Like, O was a good enough character, but in terms of the storyline, like we said, it just comes back round. So, really, what was the point? But when they finally, and I like how they do, because it's also him making that decision allows them to be together intimately, because it's his whole thing of he doesn't want his heart broken, so he can't put himself out there, but because he knows that she's leaving, he knows there's no repercussion. So it's just them being there in that moment, and it's all this build up, and I'm glad it wasn't overly glamorous or like
rated R and explicit,
super correct. Like, it was natural. It just happened the way it did. And it happened the first time she's gone to her boyfriend's house. Like, and it was the last significant thing. And arguably, did we need Maeve in the last episode? Not really. Like, I got her to do her writing stuff, but that could have been done. You know, she could have got the call in the episode previous. Yeah. You know, we don't know what happens with the relationship between her. Like, is she going to see Elsie again? Because Elsie's living with Anna, but we get no closure on that. Get closure on some things, closure on others. I think the standout episode was the funeral episode, and the standout performance for me was Adam and Michael Groff. Overall, 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think maximum could be a 7.
Weakest out of the 4. Still good and well made. Still enjoyed a lot of it. I still ugly cried at a lot of it, so, you know.
It did something. What you will. It did something.
But I cry when Clara leaves, and I don't like Clara, so.
Oh.
But in that moment, it was a genuinely nice moment. But,
it was a very nice moment.
But with this was more close to home, so it was great for me. I'm glad that I'm so happy a show like this existed and happened, and that we went on this journey with it. Even as a podcast, it's kind of been a semi-constant thing. As Netflix have stopped mailing out their DVDs to rent, I hope they take heedance for the fact that there is more physical media
market
that we've spoken about and we want, and I would totally
on board, get a set.
Sex Education Complete Series box set, just to enjoy this in years to come. Show to my kids, their kid, like it. You know, there is a timeless aspect of it that will always be a story to be told. But I'm glad to sort of let it rest now. Maybe next year we can kind of come back to it, do it as a whole, see where we're at. If like, you know, with shows like Game of Thrones or Top Boy, whatever ends, like you can kind of come back to it later with you knowing where it goes and kind of just enjoy it and
for what it is.
See what your opinions are on it. But
and if the power of time and hindsight shall reflect and change your opinions, or if it is just the same, or even soured.
One of the first major Netflix shows to end, really. You got Better Call Saul. There's not many things that have been able to come to an end on their own terms without being cancelled. So thank you, Laurie Nunn, and the casting and production and every single person that worked on Sex Education, Asa Butterfield,
Ncuti Gatwa,
everyone, Ncuti Gatwa. I can't wait to see what any of these actors do next.
Yeah,
obviously,
of course.
The most obvious one we're going to be seeing from November onwards. But I'd love to see all of their, especially Keeda
William Sterling Jackson,
because I think so underutilized throughout a lot of the show. I'd love to see these actors sink their teeth into something else.
Emma Mackey, funny enough, in American text, she was talking about, like, is it Emily Bronte? Well, she did a film about Emily Bronte, like Emma Mackey in real life. So that was a funny meta reference.
Oh yeah, that's quite cool. I've not seen it though.
Death on the Nile. She's in Death on the Nile with Mr. Kenneth Branagh.
She is, yes.
Other than that, yeah, she probably needs some more stuff, but yeah.
Where is it? What else am I thinking of? What else am I thinking of, Connor? It's gone from my head. It's completely gone. But yeah, I'm glad a show like this existed. Amy Lou Wood and the others, Connor Swindles, we've seen in bits and pieces. Obviously, we'll see a lot more of Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah, whether we like it or not.
And I think we're going to love it, really. I think we are. I think he's going to be an absolute behemoth of a doctor. And he's really going to knock our socks off, and I can't wait for it. And I'd love to see some of these guys turn up in Doctor Who.
Why the hell not? I wouldn't say no.
Connor Swindles is the Master. Who says
oh
no?
La la. The Rani.
Or
Omega.
Emma Mackey as Missy. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think Amy Lou Wood would be good in it. I think because she's just generally a nice...
bubbly.
Nice person.
She'd be a good companion. She's a companion.
Yes, she'd be a fantastic companion. But until then, thank you, Sex Education.
Yes, thank you, Sex Education.
And we can't wait to ugly cry at more shows like the Checks List, David Beckham documentary. Hey, but Loki comes out yesterday in terms of this. So,
well, according to this timeline, yeah. I'm on my rewatches. I'm on episode 3, so I'm going to do maybe 2 tonight and then 2 more Thursday night. Well, I would have done it. Timelines and all.
Where can they find us, Connor?
So you've somehow stumbled across us on YouTube in the form of Pasty Sheep. See
us at the BFI.
See us at the BFI. Yeah, the
come
British
say hello to Connor.
Film Institute. Yeah, George can't make it now. It's only me.
You're joking. I'm going to be there. Come say hello to the 2 most socially awkward people on the internet.
Yeah, Pasty Sheep across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the TikTokiness. And then if you want to send an electronic mail of any kind, email, quandaries, theories, reactions, you can send them to nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com.
And until next time, see ya. See you next week.
Would I want to be you? Tell us why I want to be you.
Bye-bye, everybody.